So first of all, I would like to good afternoon, Excellency, Honorable Speaker, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. May I now commend the programs. Warmly welcome to our 11th episode of AVI-SDG Dialogue. My name is Kim Liang, a junior researcher for Center of Sustainable Development Study of Asian Vision Institute. And this is my great pleasure to be a MC for today's program. As we all know, sustainable development reinforces sustainable peace and more peaceful and inclusive society, create a favorable environment for sustainable development. So our 11th AVI-SDG dialogue has bring up the topic of peace and sustainable development, and we will highlight on what are the progress and challenge in achieving the peace and sustainable development. And the second, what are the key interventions being implemented to support the peace and sustainable development amid the COVID-19 pandemic? And what are the proposed long-term and short-term intervention strategy for support the peace and sustainable development? And what are the role of multi-stakeholder and public play to support the process? Before I jump into our main agenda, Excellency, Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to introduce our valuable speaker who are a permanent leader and the researcher in our diverse development field. First, please allow me to introduce Dr. Chingwanarat, the president of AVI. Dr. Chingwanarat is a public policy analyst and government relation strategy. He has over a decade of the research experience on geopolitical and political economic analysis with the focus on Southeast Asia, and he is currently served as a president of Asian Vision Institute, where he leads projects on geopolitical risk analysis, regional security, smart village development, inclusive digital economics, and leadership development. He was honored a young global leader by the World Economic Forum in 2013, and Southeast Asia Young Leader by the IISS Shangri-La Dialogue in 2016. And second, please allow me to give a warm welcome to our honorable speaker, Brigadier General Sai Saksawati. He currently Director of Ministry History Institute, General Department of Policy and Foreign Affairs, Ministry of National Defense. He previously was assigned to Assistant Defense at the Royal Cambodia Embassy in Washington, D.C. from 2012 to 2016 for 4-year assignment. Aside from that, he attended various local ministry courses, workshop and seminar, particularly participating in development of the defense white paper, peacekeeping operation, military law, and military history. He also attended a few courses abroad, such as the comprehensive counter-terrorism in APCSS in Hawaii, United States in 2015, and the class of 62 of the Joint General Staff and Colleagues APCSS at the Philippines. And with his civil study, he graduated from the master degree of public management, major in security development from the Development Academics of the Philippines. And in 2022, he also graduated with the British class of the Royal School of Administration. So, Excellency, Honorable Speaker, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, to follow our agenda today, we will start our captivative program with the first agenda on the government policy and the intervention of peace and sustainable development, which will be conveyed to speak by Brigadier General Sowati. And the second, a role of AVI for peace and sustainable development, progress, challenge, and recommendation, which will convey to speak by Dr. Chim Wanarat. And for the last of agenda, we will open the floor for discussion, and then we will have a group photo at the end of our programs. So without further ado, Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, if you wish to have any comment or any question during our presentation periods, please drop in our Zoom chat box or our Facebook Live. So without further ado, I would like to give the floor to our honorable speaker from Ministry of Defense, Brigadier General Sowati to deliver his remark. So, Brigadier General, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Kamyang. Good afternoon. And first of all, I would like to convey my warm wish and deep appreciation for the invitation extended to the General Department of Foreign Policy in the Ministry of National Defense in attending AVI-SDG Dialogue on Peace and Sustainable Development. This is the meaningful event for the foundation of maintaining peace and sustainable global peace. Also, Lieutenant General Nam Sowati would like to send his regard to the event, and he also sent the regret that he can be unable to join due to the official engagement with the delegation coming to the win-win policy. So sorry, win-win management. Let me start by saying thank you for the AVI for hosting this important event. And it is true that peace is a valuable public asset that must be safeguarded at all costs, regardless race, religions, or ages. Without peace, no harmonized progress is possible. In present day, Cambodia is one with the driving economic growth, sustainable development filled with belonging young women and youth, and people from past generation to current generation. So since Cambodia has fully obtained peace, national reconciliation and development after almost 3 decades of civil war, which is very important to our country. This is one of the great achievements of the royal government of Cambodia under the leadership and effective strategy of our Prime Minister to bring an end to the civil war in the country. So, as you are aware that the civil war caused a strategy to engulf the entire Cambodian nation. In particular, the period of 3 years and 8 months is a dark age that leads to destruction of the district and fall to the zero zone. Cambodia has finally emerged from its tumultuous history, and the country has been at peace for just over 2 decades. In addition, if we look at the current state of economic growth, Cambodia is very advanced. Both the annual income of the population, the infrastructure of cities and provinces across the country have changed significantly. We can say that now Cambodia has reached a level of development comparable to some countries in the region. Let me reflect on some recent development across the globe. As you can see that in the recent development, there are ongoing and burning conflicts, confrontation, bloodshed, and so on, which are putting a strain on the world peace and sustainable global development. The topic revolving on the resolution that emerged to the emergent and current conflict remain intertwined in the labyrinth of talks by global leaders to date, which hopefully can act as a mechanism to escalate or de-intensify those conflicts that have the potential to become a full-blown or all-out wars. Looking at the Cambodian past experience as a reflection, peace building and national reconciliation process, particularly the win-win policy of Samdai Prime Minister, must come from within the national ownership in the decision-making of peace solution. Therefore, independent and self-determined are the key to the success, and those are more valuable than anything else in the national reconciliation process. Let me go back a little bit to the history. You know that during the 1980, after the liberation of on January 7, 1979, the civil war in Cambodia continued, with the Khmer Rouge side not yet completely collapsed and having its buffered zone in Cambodia. During this time, the search for peace continued until the 1990s, when the Paris Peace Agreement was signed on October 23rd, 1991. The UN agreed to monitor the ceasefire and repatriate Cambodians along the Thai border in the Memorandum of Understanding. Cambodians' peace are desired by the UN and cannot be realized and leaving the country with two domain regions, since the Khmer Rouge refused to participate in the election and continue to wage war against the government with its military forces. Finally, the junta operation in Khmer Rouge was not entirely effective in ending the civil war and forcing the Khmer Rouge out of the peace process. Cambodian government, under the wisdom and leadership of Samdech Techo, has implemented the win-win policy, have made enormous effort to prevent the use of force by using as many negotiation techniques as possible in order for the Khmer Rouge to agree and volunteer to integrate into society. This recent day, you might see a lot of recent news that Lieutenant General, the retirement, John Sanderson came to visit to Cambodia, and he came and paid a courtesy call to all Cambodian leaders, and that is the living proof to Cambodian history of to whom that been involving and participation in peace process, but he left the Cambodia with ongoing conflict, and he came back with the proof to see that Cambodia is at peace. This is what a small reflection to the event, and just win-win policy. Let me provide a little bit and recall the element of the policy. There were three basic fundamental guarantee, namely guarantee of life to secure that there will be no execution for all fighters, and second, guarantee of job and position, and finally, third, guarantee of property and belonging. This offer of guarantee were provided for all fractions to disarm and integrate into one government and honoring one rule of law and constitution. The meaning of 3 points above are deep, and they involve in the reality of human security. Human security, this is a part of the UN UN desire to secure basic human security in the framework. They lead to success in achieving sustainable peace because they not only assure the basic security of life, but they also deeply met the need of heart and hope of the people. These successes are of great value to be inscripted in the national history in order to build a stronger national identity and leave important lessons for the future generation. Understanding the true cause of national history is very meaningful and important for security work and for the building strong defense in the futures. The proof of 20-year road to full peace accomplishment is shown by the construction of Ringwind Memorial for continue to protect its peace and stability in our nation. The Ringwind Memorial was built based on 3 mottos. First, gratitude. Second, harmony. And third, participation. Ringwind Memorial is a historical multi-purpose architectural and is a part of peacekeeping and sustainable peace for the future. It is true that it's part of our memory, a memory that illustrates what Cambodia went through to emerge from war and dark age, and important to continue to maintain stability and peace within our nation. This is more than historical build heritage. Memorial is built to reflect the true essence of Cambodian value, the Khmer culture, social harmony, and peace way of life. In order to continue to maintain peace and develop country, future generation of Cambodia will need a true awareness of their history and value. The construction of the Ringwind Memorial is a declaration of true history, leaders' willingness to continue growing abstract knowledge and innovating new information, as well as for the leader actual knowledge value to be recorded and protected. In addition to the Ringwind Memorial, we have begun construction on the Ringwind Monument as directed by our leaders. For every zone where the Ringwind policy is successfully implemented, will have a Ringwind Memorial built. I would like to convey my profound thankfulness once again to Asia Vision Institute for this fruitful conference. Your creative team and you not only provide a new venue for everyone to share their own perspective on peacekeeping, how to speed up peacekeeping issue, but also shown the bold commitment as a human being. I'm grateful for the truthful effort. I'm looking forward to cooperation with you, and I'm open for any question that may occur. And thank you for the preparation.
Thank you so much, Brigadier General Sawati, for your presentation. And next, I would like to turn the floor to our honorable speaker, the President of AVI, Dr. Chiang Wanrat, to deliver his speech. Doctor, please.
Thank you, Ms. Kim Lia, for the wonderful moderation. And thanks my friend, Brigadier General Sawati, for your interesting remarks, which setting the tones for our discussion and dialogue later on. I just would like to stress that peace is stated in the Sustainable Development Goal number 16. So number 16 of the SDG set out the commitment to promote peaceful and inclusive society for sustainable development. Because sustainable development cannot be realized if peace cannot be sustained or peace cannot be built. So that is the precondition for peace, for sustainable development. And what we are witnessing at this stage is the war in Ukraine, which hampered the global progress toward sustainable development goal, achievement of sustainable development goal. Inflation, food, energy security is under strain, and kind of challenging time for humanity to handle this kind of multiple crisis happening at the same time. And the world is not yet out of the woods when it comes to post-pandemic recovery, because we still struggling to develop our society and economy in the post-COVID-19 era. So that is the multiple kind of crisis that we need to face. We only have 8 more years to go to achieve SDG by 2030. So we kind of running out of time now to promote and enhance this kind of global partnership to realize sustainable development goals. So that is at the macro global level. So at the regional level, Southeast Asia, we have seen some progress in terms of economic integration, in terms of kind of results-based cooperation in the region. Peace and stability in Southeast Asia quite resilient in a way, even though there's uncertainties regarding geopolitical competition, rivalries, but Southeast Asia hopefully will still maintain peace and stability so that we can maintain our economic growth dynamism. And early this year, we started enforcing a regional comprehensive economic partnership, which composed of 10 ASEAN member states plus 5 trading partners of ASEAN. So this is a catalyst of regional economic recovery and also a catalyst for sustainable development of the regions. And of course, this trade flows, investment flow cannot be promoted if we cannot preserve peace and stability in the region. So within ASEAN, we have different agreements, frameworks to promote peace, especially the ASEAN Treaty on Amity and Cooperation. We call it TAC. So TAC is an important legal instrument for ASEAN and dialogue partners to work together to promote these kind of basic principles of international peace and stability, including mutual respect, non-interference, no threat or use of force, peaceful settlement of disputes, and so on. So these are the principles that help us, the region, Southeast Asia, and wider Asia Pacific region to sustain peace since the end of the Cold War. And we need to preserve this kind of core values and principles so that we can maintain peace and stability in our region. And greater interdependence through trade, investment, infrastructure, connectivity, people-to-people ties, digital connectivity will add new momentum or will boost peace and stability in this region, because greater interdependence will lead to fewer conflicts. Or even though we have conflicts and differences, it will not lead to serious kind of armed confrontation or war, because we are so much interdependent and interconnected. So that is something that I believe the more we connected, integrated, interdependent, the more peaceful region we will enjoy. Look at Cambodia context. General Wuti mentioned about win-win policy and the success of peace building in Cambodia and the post-conflict peace building in Cambodia. So that is quite unique and extraordinary, because in most cases, post-conflict countries tend to relapse to war and conflict after a few years. So Cambodia have enjoyed kind of total peace for more than 2 decades since 1998. So that is quite remarkable. And the foundation of peace have been gradually built and consolidated over the years since 1998. And one of the key factors that contribute to this peace in Cambodia is the people factor, because at the end of the day, it's about the people. And Cambodian, we are the peace lover. We don't want to use violence to solve problem, and we highly value peace because we experience the suffering, we experience the disaster caused by war. So for those who went through civil war, they understand the suffering of the war the most. Of course, young generation, perhaps they do not understand that much, but they need to learn about the past in order to understand the present and to predict the future. Past, present, future are connected. So that's why we need to understand who we are, where we come from, how we get here today, and how we work together to the future. So that is a process of nation building, and that is the process of peace building in Cambodia. So the story of peace building in Cambodia, the story of nation building in Cambodia, does not belong to any single individual. It belongs to the whole country. This is our national story in terms of win-win policy, that everyone has contributed to the success of the win-win policy. So that is something that we need to also pay gratitude to those who sacrifice their lives for the sake of peace for Cambodia. To end my remarks, I just would like to stress that peace is not granted. Peace needs to be earned, and we should never take peace for granted. We need to keep nurturing peace, nurturing, feeding, giving water to peace, keep building the foundation of peace constantly, continuously, right? So that is the meaning of peace. It needs to be taken care of every day, every minute. And peace, we should not take peace for granted. And peace is a precondition for development and sustainable development. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Thiermanadeth, for your insightful presentation. So, Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we've been enjoying listening to a very insightful comment from our honorable speakers. So our program would like to approach for open the floor for discussion. However, I would like to randomly select many questions for our speaker. So the first question I would like to ask, what are the challenges that Cambodia have faced in achieving the SDG Goal 16 on the peace and sustainable development? And what are your recommendations to overcome this challenge? So, Brigadier General Sopwati, you have any comment on this question?
Thank you for the question. The challenge for SDG is the comprehensive and joined together for achieving. So far, UN SDG Cambodia did annex our own SDG, and following the SDG document of Cambodia, I think for the past 5 years, we come up with the atmosphere of the peace around across the country. And for the peace building is to prevent any cause or to relapse for another conflicts. And in order for the world peace, as part of a Cambodian myself as a military, we did join on the peacekeeping operation. Like you know that the Cambodian used to be receiving the peacekeeping operation from the UN under the mandate of the UN UNTAC in 1991 to 1992, and it's happened to us that the blue beret came to our soil, but start from 2009, we sending back our troop in under the mandate of a humanitarian assistant to another country who has a conflict or war, and mostly in Africa. So we did starting from one area of engagement. Now we have achieved many engagement, as starting from demining to become engineering force, and then finally we are in level hospital, which is sending our military medication to help those who are in the area of conflict zone. And yes, this is a challenge for us too, because in terms of languages, in terms of geographic, and in terms of the living standard, and you know, in Africa the living is different from Cambodia, so we have to adapt. However, our troop did overcome those challenges because we believe that we going for peace, and with the admiration or willingness to help others who are in conflicts. And to the next question, that what are we looking forward, we're not going for the combating, of course, because our constitution is locked that we cannot sending a troop in a combating way. But again, we will look for another humanitarian mandate under the UN, and to become a peace builder or peace peace force to help other countries. Yes, we're looking at some other areas, but at the same time, also we have challenges in terms of our capability. So if we are in a full capability to obtain some other area, we would like to sending our troop to peace forces. So this is my intervention. So thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Wanalet, would you like to have any comment?
There are many challenges to peace and sustainable development. Structural challenges include this kind of persistent geopolitical competition, and we don't know when it will become more stable or healthy competition, because geopolitical competition at this stage is quite confrontational and quite dangerous. So that is a structural issue, pose significant challenges to peace and stability in the world. And the war in Ukraine is just a case in point. At the national level, we also see several emerging dynamics in terms of causes of instability and conflicts. What we see in Myanmar, for instance, is from the unstable political power arrangement, domestic power competitions, and the lack of the rule of law and strong democratic institution that can sustain peace and stability in Myanmar. And of course, the situation in Myanmar is very complex when it comes to ethnic conflict, tensions, and so on. So that the domestic source of war or conflict mainly stem from all these kind of ethnic conflicts, tensions, to some extent, ultra-nationalism or extreme nationalism, either extreme right-wing or extreme left-wing. Anything related to extremism is not helpful, constructive for peace and stability. So we need to have a moderate kind of movement, a tolerance of different ethnic groups, different civilizations, so that human beings can peacefully coexist together. So another challenge to peace and sustainable development is the lack of this kind of the respect to the international law, because we rely on international law, especially the United Nations Charter, to maintain peace and stability. If we fail to respect international law, the UN Charter especially, then we cannot maintain peace and stability, because the United Nations is the product of war, Second World War. And this is a spirit of international community to maintain peace based on international law, international institution, dialogue, diplomatic solution to issues. So the war in Ukraine marked a kind of a significant decline of the respect of international law and the UN Charter. So we need to revive, renovate, strengthen, enhance the UN Charter, the rule-based international law or international order based on international law. We need to further enhance this kind of internet institutions. For Cambodia, over the years, we have promoting this concept of open, inclusive, and rule-based multilateralism, with the belief that this multilateralism can provide platform, provide opportunities for dialogue, and provide opportunities for shared development or shared growth. So this is something that small states like Cambodia need to continue strengthening this open, inclusive, and rule-based multilateralism. And in our region, we have ASEAN, which is the most important regional organization that can maintain peace and stability. And Cambodia, as a chair of ASEAN this year, is trying to operationalize, to deliver certain actions-oriented, result-oriented regional cooperation, including the implementation of the ASEAN Outlook on the Indo-Pacific, because the ASEAN Outlook on Indo-Pacific is regarded as the initiative mechanism to connect different initiatives in the region. We know there are different Indo-Pacific initiatives. There's a mega initiative like Belt and Road initiative. So how can ASEAN can play a bridging role to connect all these initiatives, build synergies, complementarities, and also to strengthen ASEAN centrality in shaping regional security and economic architecture? So a lot of works need to be done, and Cambodia, as a chair of ASEAN this year, need to do a lot of stuff to strengthen a peaceful and prosperous region.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wanadat. So in connecting to the first question, as Cambodia have a long conflict history, and we also have a lot of experience in sowing peace due to the win-win policy, how Cambodia provide a reflection and the lesson learned, which have to maintain peace in our regional conflict, like the conflict in the Myanmar crisis. So Brigadier Sawati, would you have respond?
Thank you for the question. Yes, in Cambodia, we have what we so-called win-win policy. Win-win policy itself is a very broad way from the meaning until to the implementation. And yes, in Cambodia, our own people and our system, we are undergone the very suffer and also the conflict of our own country long enough. So people are living in below poverty, so they don't need any peace. That's in a psychological way. People rather want peace than conflicts. And to reflect on Myanmar, you know that in Cambodia we have not so much ethnic group in our country. We have very few and in a small number, and those is reflect to Myanmar actually, because in Myanmar we can look at the root of cause. The root of the conflict is from the ethnic group that from one to another there are different practice, different living, and different languages. So it quite difficult, and it's not so easy to bring the principle or the meaning of the win-win policy to adopt or to implement in Myanmar. However, with our policy, we have some similar approach that can be adopted, but it depends on the system. The system I refer is the state of the Myanmar. From the presidential until the ground, what they wanted, what they currently wanted. Do they want a discussion, or do they want to wage the conflict, to balance the power, or do they want to open for the discussion with an open heart? Again, for win-win policy, we finished the war and by our own, by our Cambodian. We don't. There's no outsider to this conflict, so we open for dialogue and open for negotiation and open for offer that the former Khmer rulers, for example, they offer, and then we reconsider and how to match our government offers to their offer. So we stand for a win-win policy, our own three basic currency, and yes, and for the Myanmar, again, I call for the system to open up and open for more discussion, open for more dialogue, to understand ethnic A, ethnic B, ethnic C, why, what they want, and at the end of the day, it's for their own people and for their own living. For do they want to raise the living standard, or do they want to stay under the roof of the bomb or roof of the fire, or they don't want to? This is up to the system what they prefer, and the willingness to open to discussion. So this is a very reflection for the again for the point is ethnics. So many ethnic, so system have to be a very hard, very headache to discuss one to another, and they bring together in one Myanmar, if they want to call it Myanmar. Only Myanmar can do it, and this is what my input. So thank you.
Thank you. I think Dr. Wanarat would have a lot of comment on that question. Dr. Wanarat.
Well, I think Cambodia have so much experience to share with other countries, including Myanmar. But of course, it cannot bring the Cambodia model to any other country because we have different history, different contexts, social, ethnic context, political context, and also geopolitical context. Right? So that is something that I believe the basics of peace building, peacemaking is to promote dialogue. The importance of having dialogue, because if we don't talk to each other, we cannot understand each other and we cannot trust each other. So if we don't understand and trust each other, then there's no peace. There's no solution to any problems. So as you mentioned earlier in your introductory kind of remark, Kim Liang, you mentioned about multi-stakeholder partnership, collaboration. So peace is not only for the state to define and to protect. We need the involvement of the people. We need the involvement of civil societies. We need the involvement of the private sector, international organizations, and different partners. So this is a multi-stakeholder. So what Cambodia is trying to do with regards to Myanmar is to promote multi-stakeholder partnership to provide humanitarian assistance to Myanmar, right? And also to promote this kind of multi-stakeholder partnership among different stakeholders in Myanmar, so that they could understand each other, trust each other, and cooperate. So Cambodia experience, it starts with the Cambodian people themselves, and the international community play a supporting role, provide platform for negotiation, facilitate this kind of negotiation. But the key actors that define either it is a success or failure in peace building is the local people. So that is very important when we stress the national ownership of peacemaking, peace building. So that's why Cambodia from the start advocate for this Myanmar-led and Myanmar-owned peace process in Myanmar. So that is very clear. And as a special envoy of ASEAN this year, I think Cambodia already shared Cambodia experience that you should not regard each other as terrorists, because if you keep calling each other terrorists, then you cannot have a dialogue, because in principle, we never talk to terrorists. So they need to refrain from calling each other terrorists, need to set a more diplomatic tone so that they can have some common ground for dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wanarat. So I would like to raise other question. So we respect the hard working of the government that they have been doing. So how will Cambodia government maintain peace and sustainable development and ensure there won't be any violent conflicts in the future? So Brigadier Sawati.
Thanks for the question again. Yes, we can heard the speech from Prime Minister or another our leaders across the conference or forums. They started from thanks peace and always raise the peace atmosphere in Cambodia. Yet for the maintain peace is difficult than to achieve peace. We can say if we blow or fight, when we stop, we call it peace. but how to not go back to fight, it's quite hard for the components. But yes, in Cambodia, to maintain peace it's very important, and we put it into a priority list all the time. With the first, of course, the economic growth into the country, we have to maintain always plus, always provided job, provided a quality, provided quality of life. I mean quality of life, and bring a lot of investment into the country, so they can create a room for opportunity to run the business. And this is because of peace. And that's why we have to maintain the peace. And for another thing is political has to be stable. Yes, and it's a democracy. We are the democracy country. So every 5 years we have a election. So we have run the election every 5 years. So this is have to be in a stable way. And yes, and for the security, we have to maintain good security. So protection of the human, and promote peaceful, and have a security on the ground, and in the area. And for the also another the fourth one is the cooperation. We have to build a bilateral, multilateralism, to open for friends to join in, to welcome the friends to the Cambodian. And yes, and the last one, of course, we have to say peace atmosphere. I mean, to spread the peace. So that's why our leader always recall the peace every day, and this is very important. And I believe it will be helping in maintaining peace in the country. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I think that is not easy for the Cambodian government alone to play the role in maintaining peace and sustainable development. So how the private sector, think tanks have like AVI play an important role to bring the peace and sustainable to Cambodian governments. So Dr. Wanadas, would you like to answer the question?
Yeah, we need to further enhance this kind of cross-sectoral cooperation, multi-stakeholder partnership to realize sustainable development goals, including goal number 16 on peace and institutions. So that is a kind of a common understanding among development agencies and different stakeholders, especially at the UN level, the UN agency. They try to promote this kind of blended financing mechanism to support the UN member state to realize SDGs. And the private sector play increasingly important role because they have resources, they have knowledge, they have their own networks to impact changes. So that the involvement of private sector is crucial to realize SDG, right? And they need to be more aware of what's going on and what they can do to support the government to realize SDG. And the government also need to develop stakeholder engagement strategy to engage the private sector and civil society to be part of the solutions to solve these challenges to realize, or barriers to realize SDG, including peace for development. The think tank like AVI, we provide platform for dialogue like this, consultation among different stakeholders, so that we can have a common understanding, or we are on the same page, so that we can explore cooperation opportunities what we can do together to achieve something. Because it's not only a talk shop, but we want to see more action as well. So that's why AVI have a slogan of connecting people, connecting knowledge, and connecting actions. Without action, we talk is meaningless, conversation is meaningless. So we need to follow up with concrete action, practical action, what we can do together as a partners. So again, when it comes to peace, it's not only the absence of war and absence of armed conflict, but peace in a positive peace definition is also the promotion and protection of human well-being, of livelihoods, safety, or in other words, to promote this freedom from want and freedom from fear, which is already in the UN Human Security and Human Development Index. So we need to do more to build the foundation of positive peace, which include a broad range of socio-economic, environmental, psychological issues that could sustain or improve the well-being, livelihood of the people. So that will be a long-term process, and we need the participation from all stakeholders.
Thank you so much, both honorable speaker. It's really insightful discussion today. So before closing our agenda, would you like to have any comment or anything to add on our topic today or our discussion today? Dr. Vanrat, would you like to have any final comment?
I would like to invite Brigadier General Soputi to talk first.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Dr. Chimanrat. And again, thanks for inviting me to this discussion. And I'm agree with Dr. Vanrat what he did mention and spoke up. It's good to have AVI to join force in peace building. And yes, for the stakeholder, I'm totally agree to have the voice up to bring out to the all the peace and sustainable development. UN has been undergoing the process of which they implementing the UN SDG, and one of the important is all is important, and also the peace but the peace and sustainable development is quite also the important to every country to implement and to run their own project and their own monitor to each individual country. And again, I'm very delighted to join the event, and I'm so happy to be in part of the event, and I'm looking forward for another section or upcoming in the future. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Kim Liang, for moderating a series of dialogue on SDG. And also on behalf of AVI, I would like to say thank you to Brigadier General Sai Soputi. He's a young Cambodian talent, got promoted very fast. I did not know that he became a general now until I saw his name. Really a Puti that I know before. So congratulations, and you deserve it based on your qualification, your capacity. 10 years ago, we used to work together to lead the ASEAN Defense Minister meeting. I was the head of the working group for NADI and also for the ADMM. So at that time, 10 years ago, he was very young, but I think he learned very fast. Now he become mature his ideas and perspective were well crafted. So that is quite a surprise for me, and really thankful for your contribution. I just would like to stress that AVI has supported the Ministry of Defense of Cambodia in many fields, including training. So we have an ongoing project with the Sina Dacho unit of the Ministry of Defense to organize a special training program on research, drafting, and writing, right, for the young officers of the Ministry of National Defense. And AVI also support the Ministry of Defense in giving inputs to the defense white paper, which is going to be published soon, I think, this year. And of course, we also support in other research and projects together, and we are willing to also support when we come to military history, because General Sokputi is the director of the Institute of Military History. So we can work together because history is very important for peace and for peace building and conflict resolution. If we don't understand history, it's very difficult for us to understand the present and to predict the future. So that's why military history play a critical role in peace building in Cambodia or any societies. So that is something that I think we can work together. And related to the topic of today's discussion on peace and sustainable development, I just would like to stress that multi-stakeholder partnership collaboration is essential. National, international stakeholder collaboration is very important. So I think the Cambodian government very open to cooperate with different national, international stakeholders to achieve sustainable development goal, including peace. So this openness, this kind of frankliness and honesty will produce kind of a meaningful collaboration and partnership, because trust-based collaboration and people-centered partnership will guide us along the way and will lead us to the destination. So that is something that I think peace and sustainable development, which is the key pillar of the government of Cambodia, will continue to be sustained and deliver more opportunity, more fruitful result for the people of Cambodia. So thank you.
Thank you so much, distinguished speaker, for your valuable comments. So before closing our program, I would like to invite for a group photo session. Now I will count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you so much for your kindly cooperation. And Excellency, honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to the end of our webinar. On behalf of AVI, I would like to thank Excellency, honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, for your kind participate in our webinar today. So wish you all good luck, healthy, and stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you.